Hi there, and welcome to our podcast. And this week at London Visited, we go to Wembley Stadium for our first of two parts on this iconic venue, and we'll cover the early years until its redevelopment in 2007 in this one. My name is Steve, and each week I'll bring to you the facts, history, and information about different parts of this great capital. If you've been to London, are planning on visiting, live here, or just love London from afar, then this is the podcast for you. Also, don't forget to visit our YouTube channel, London Visited, to see so many videos covering London and so many places. And now to this week's podcast. The original Wembley Stadium, originally known as the Empire Stadium, was a stadium in Wembley, North London, best known for hosting important football matches. It stood on the same site now occupied by its successor. Wembley hosted the FA Cup final annually, the first in 1923, which was its inaugural event, the League Cup final annually, 5 European Cup finals, and the 1966 World Cup final, and the final of Euro 1996 and Euro 2020. Brazilian footballer Pelé once said of the stadium, "Wembley is the cathedral of football. It is the capital of football and the heart of football," in recognition of its status as the world's best-known football stadium. The stadium also hosted many other sports events, including the 1948 Summer Olympics, Rugby League's Challenge Cup final, and the 1992 and 1995 Rugby League World Cup finals. It was also the venue for numerous music events, including the 1985 Live Aid charity concert. The stadium's first turf was cut by King George V and was open to the public on the 28th of April 1923. Much of Humphrey Repton's original Wembley Park landscape was transformed in 1922 during preparations for the British Empire Exhibition of 1924 to 1925. First known as the British Empire Exhibition Stadium, or simply Empire Stadium, it was built by Sir Robert McAlpine for the British Empire Exhibition of 1924. The stadium cost £750,000, equivalent approximately to £50 million today, and was constructed on the site of an earlier folly called Watkins Tower. The architects were Sir John Simpson and Maxwell Arton, and the head engineer Sir Owen Williams. It was originally intended to demolish the stadium at the end of the exhibition, but it was saved at the suggestion of Sir James Stephenson, a Scot who was chairman of the organising committee for the Empire Exhibition. The ground had been used for football as early as the 1880s. At the end of the exhibition, which proved to be a financial disappointment, the site at Wembley was considered by many to be a vast white elephant. It was bought by a property speculator, James White, who planned to sell off the buildings for redevelopment, including the stadium, which had been the centrepiece of the exhibition. Arthur Elvin, an ex-RFC officer who had worked in a tobacco kiosk at the exhibition and had previous experience working for a scrap metal firm, was employed by White to oversee the selling off of the buildings and the clearance of the Wembley site. The stadium had gone into liquidation after it was pronounced financially unviable. After 9 months, having earned a good sum from selling various buildings on the site, Elvin agreed to buy the stadium from White for a total of £127,000, using a £12,000 down payment and the balance plus interest payable over 10 years. However, facing personal bankruptcy, White suddenly took his own life in 1927. This caused financial complications for Elvin, necessitating him to raise money within 2 weeks to commit to buy the stadium before it too was demolished. He was able to finance this by forming the Wembley Stadium and Greyhound Racecourse Company. He raised the money to buy the stadium back at the original price he had agreed with White, and then immediately sold it back to the company, leaving him with a healthy personal profit. Instead of cash, he received shares in the company, which gave him the largest individual stake in Wembley Stadium, and he subsequently became chairman. The electric scoreboard and the all-encircling roof, made from aluminium and translucent glass, were added in 1963. The stadium's distinctive twin towers became its trademark and nickname. Also well known were the 39 steps needed to be climbed to reach the royal box and collect a trophy and winners-losers medals. Wembley was the first pitch to be referred to as hallowed turf, with many stadia around the world borrowing this phrase. In 1934, the Empire Pool was built nearby. The Wembley Stadium collection is held by the National Football Museum. The stadium closed in October 2000 and demolition commenced in December 2005, completing in 2003 for redevelopment. The top one of the Twin Towers was erected as a memorial in the park on the north side of Overton Close in St Raphael's Estate. Wembley is best known for hosting football matches, having hosted the FA Cup final annually as well as numerous England international features. The Empire Stadium was built in exactly 300 days at the cost of £750,000. Described as the world's greatest sporting arena, it was already only 4 days old before the White Horse final in 1923. The FA had not considered admission by ticket, grossly underestimating the number of fans who arrived at the 104 gates on match day. However, after the match, every event, apart from the 1982 replay, was ticketed. The first ever event held at the stadium was the FA Cup final on the 28th of April 1923, between Bolton Wanderers and West Ham United. This is known as the White Horse Final. Such was the eagerness of fans and casual observers to attend the final at the new National Stadium that vast numbers of people crammed through the 104 turnstiles into the stadium, far exceeding its official 127,000 capacity. The crowds overflowed onto the pitch as there was no room on the terraces. Estimates of the number of fans in attendance range from 240,000 to well over 300,000. It was thought that the match would not be played because of the number of spectators inside the stadium that had spilled onto the pitch. That was until mounted police, including Police Constable George Scory and his white horse, Billy, slowly pushed the crowds back to the sides of the field of play for the FA Cup final to start, just 45 minutes late. In honour of Billy, the footbridge outside the new Wembley Stadium was nicknamed the White Horse Bridge. The official attendance is often quoted as 126,047. The match was a 2-0 victory for Bolton Wanderers, with David Jack scoring the first ever goal at Wembley. The 1953 FA Cup final between the Blackpool and Bolton Wanderers was dubbed the Matthews Final, after Blackpool's winger Stanley Matthews. At the age of 38, he was making his third and ultimately his final attempt at winning an FA Cup medal. In the previous 6 years, he failed to earn a winner's medal against Manchester United in 1948 and Newcastle United in 1951. It featured a hat-trick by Blackpool's Stan Mortensen in his side's 4-3 win, with Matthews almost single-handedly turning the match around for Blackpool, who had trailed 3-1 to Bolton Wanderers before fighting back to win the match. It remained the only hat-trick ever scored in an FA Cup final at the original Wembley. The FA Cup final was played there in April or May until 2000, excluding the 1970 replay when Chelsea beat Leeds United at Old Trafford. It was also the venue for finals of the FA Amateur Cup, League Cup, except for the early years when it was settled on a home and away basis, and the later years, the Associate Members Cup and the Football League Promotion Playoffs. In the early years of the playoffs, there were home and away fixtures. The 1988 final of the Middlesex Charity Cup was also played there. Prior to the 1923 Wembley Stadium, international football games had been played by England at various stadia. Most early internationals, including the first ever international football match in 1870, were played at the Oval, which opened in 1845 as the home ground of Surrey County Cricket Club, and would in 1880 host the first Test match played in England. For the first 27 years, the only international England games played at Wembley were fixtures against Scotland, with all other games played elsewhere until 1951. The first team other than Scotland to face England at the venue was Argentina. In 1956 and 1971, it was the venue of the home matches of the Great Britain national football team for the qualification matches to the Summer Olympics against Bulgaria. In 1966, it was the leading venue of the FIFA World Cup. It hosted 9 matches, including the final, where the tournament hosts won 4-2 after extra time against West Germany. 7 years later, Wembley was the venue for a specially arranged friendly between teams called the Three and the Six to celebrate the United Kingdom joining the European Union. The match finished 2-0 to the Three. In 1996, it was the principal venue of the UEFA Euros 1996, hosting all England's matches as well as the tournament's final, where Germany won the UEFA European Championship for a third time defeating the Czech Republic 2-1, with the first international golden goal in football history. Germany had earlier defeated England on penalties in the semi-final after a 1-1 draw, in which Gareth Southgate missed a penalty for England in the shootout. More recently, the Euro 2020 final, played in 2021, saw England make the final, again at Wembley, this time losing to Italy on penalties, with Gareth Southgate as the manager. England's final two competitive matches played at the stadium resulted in 1-0 defeats for England to Scotland and Germany respectively. The first defeat was in the playoff for the Euro 2000 qualifiers in November 1999, but England still went through as they won the other leg 2-0 at Hampden Park. However, the final match at Wembley was the opening qualifier for the 2002 World Cup, and defeat prompted the resignation of England manager Kevin Keegan at the end of the football match just 18 months after being in charge. In all, the stadium hosted 5 European Cup finals. The first two were the 1963 final between Milan and Benfica, and the 1968 final between Manchester United and Benfica. In 1971, it again hosted the final between Ajax and Panathinaikos, and once more in 1978, this time between Liverpool and Club Brugge. Another in 1992, when Barcelona played Sampdoria. Wembley has also hosted 2 European Winners' Cup finals, in 1965, when West Ham defeated 1860 Munich, and in 1993, when Parma defeated Royal Antwerp. It was also the venue for Arsenal's home Championship League matches in 1998 to 1999 and 1999 to 2000. It has hosted an individual club's home matches on 2 other occasions, in 1930 when Leyton Orient played home 3rd Division South matches, while their Lea Bridge Stadium was undergoing urgent remedial works, and in 1930 to 1931 for 8 matches by non-league Ealing AFC. It was also to be the home of the amateur club, which made several applications to join the Football League, the Argonauts. In March 1994, Arsenal made a bid to purchase Wembley in the hope of gaining a larger stadium to replace their Highbury ground, which had a capacity of less than 40,000 and was unsuitable for expansion. However, the bid was later abandoned in favour of building the 60,000 capacity Emirates Stadium, which was opened in 2006. On the 20th of May 2000, the last FA Cup final to be played at the old Wembley saw Chelsea defeat Aston Villa, with the only goal scored by Robert Di Matteo. The final competitive club match there was the 2000 First Division playoff final on the 29th of May between Ipswich Town and Barnsley, a 4-2 win resulting in promotion to the Premier League for Ipswich. The last club match of all was the 2000 Charity Shield, in which Chelsea defeated Manchester United 2-0. The last international match was on the 7th of October, in Kevin Keegan's last game as England manager. England were defeated 1-0 by Germany, with Dietmar Hamann scoring the last goal at the original Wembley. On that day, Tony Adams made his 60th Wembley appearance, a record for any player. Adams also claimed England's final goal at the stadium, having scored in the previous home fixture against Ukraine on the 31st of May. In the sport of rugby league, the RFL held its Challenge Cup final at Wembley from 1929 onwards. The stadium was also regularly used by the sport for major international matches, such as Great Britain versus Australia. In 1949, the France national rugby team became the first French national team of any sport to win at Wembley. The largest crowd for a Challenge Cup final at Wembley was set in 1985, when Wigan beat Hull FC 28-24 in front of 99,801 spectators, which, as of 2017, remains the second highest rugby league attendance in England, behind only the 1954 Challenge Cup final replay at Bradford's Odstall Stadium, when a then world record attendance of 102,575 saw Warrington defeat Halifax 8-4. The original 1954 Cup final, Wembley, drawn 4-4, was played in front of 81,841 fans. The stadium set the international record crowd for a rugby league game when 73,631 turned out for the 1992 Rugby League World Cup final between Great Britain and Australia, since beaten by the 74,468 attendance for the 2013 RLWF final at Old Trafford. The Australian team won the game 10-6 on the back of a try in the northeast corner. The 1995 World Cup final between England and Australia was also played at Wembley, with 66,540 spectators watching Australia win 16-8. The final of the 1999 Challenge Cup was the last to be played at the stadium and was attended by 74,242 fans, with the annual fixture moving to other grounds, Murrayfield Stadium, Millennium Stadium and Twickenham, before returning to the new Wembley upon its completion in 2007. Wembley was the main venue for the 1948 Summer Olympics. The stadium also hosted the semi-finals and the finals of the Olympic hockey and football tournaments, and the Prix des Nations event in the equestrian competition, and a demonstration match of lacrosse. Motorcycle Speedway first took place at Wembley in 1929 and operated until the outbreak of World War II in 1939, a few days before the 1939 World Championship final was due to be held, but was cancelled as a result of the war. The Wembley Lions returned in 1946 and operated in the top flight until the end of the 1956 season, winning a number of league titles. A short-lived revival saw the Lions in the British League in the 1970-1971 season. The ashes for the Speedway track were supplied by Richard Biffa Limited, whose operating base at the time was at Wembley Hill Road. The Lions were formed by the Wembley Stadium chairman, Sir Arthur Elvin. Between 1936 and 1960, Wembley hosted all of the first 15 finals of the Speedway World Championship. It hosted another 9 World Finals before the last one at Wembley took place in 1981, in front of 92,500 fans. Just shy of the venue's record Speedway attendance of 95,000, set at the 1938 World Final. The Speedway track at Wembley Stadium was 345 metres in length, and was notoriously difficult to ride for those not used to it. Despite regularly being used for World Championship and other British Championship meetings, Wembley long had a reputation as a track that was difficult to pass on, which often led to processional racing. The track itself was located inside of the Greyhound racing track, but intersected the stadium's playing field at the corners. The pits were located in the tunnel at the eastern end of the stadium. The track record at Wembley will forever be held by Denmark's world champion of 1984, 85 and 1988, Erik Gundersen. In Heat 6 of the 1981 World Final, Gundersen set the 4-lap record, clutch start, of 66.8 seconds. As this was the last time the stadium was used for speedway racing, it remains the track record. Stock car racing. 2 meetings were held at Wembley in 1974. The first meeting featured Formula 1 stock cars and national hot rods. The second meeting featured the Formula 2 Stock Cars World Final, with F1s in support. Before the first meeting, the Wembley groundsman threatened to resign over possible damage to the hallowed turf. The pitch was surrounded by wooden beams and little damage was caused. Though the venue has not been a traditional host of rugby union matches, England played a friendly against Canada on the 17th of October 1992, as the regular home stadium at Twickenham was undergoing redevelopment. Wales played their 5 Nations and Autumn International home matches at Wembley, as Twickenham Stadium could not accommodate them, while Cardiff Arms Park was being rebuilt as Millennium Stadium in the late 1990s. A deal reciprocated for the FA Cups during the construction of the new Wembley Stadium. In total, there were 7 internationals. Wembley was a regular venue for greyhound racing. It was the first sport Sir Arthur Elvin introduced to the stadium. The opening meeting was in 1927. The greyhound racing provided the stadium with its main source of regular income, especially in the early decades, and continued to attract crowds of several thousand up to the early 1960s. The stadium staged its last greyhound race meeting in December 1998, with the owners, the Greyhound Racing Association, citing economic reasons and the lack of plans for a greyhound track in the stadium's redevelopment. 2 of the biggest events in the greyhound racing calendar were the St Leger and Trafalgar Cup. Both were originally held at Wembley Stadium. The St Leger from 1928 until 1998, after which it moved to Wimbledon Stadium, and the Trafalgar Cup from 1929 until 1998, after which it moved to Oxford Stadium. In 1931, the famous greyhound, Mick the Miller, won the St Leger. Wembley's owners' refusal to counsel the regular greyhound racing meant that the match between Uruguay and France in the 1966 FIFA World Cup was played at White City. The National Football League, held 9 pre-season American football games at Wembley Stadium between 1983 and 1993. The Minnesota Vikings and the St. Louis Cardinals played the first game on the 6th of August 1983. The Detroit Lions and Dallas Cowboys played the last game on the 8th of August 1993. The United States Football League also played an exhibition game there on the 21st of July 1984 between the Philadelphia Stars and Tampa Bay Bandits. The London Monarchs of the World League of American Football played at the venue in 1991 and 1992. Wembley hosted the World Bowl 1991, the inaugural World Bowl where the Monarchs defeated the Barcelona Dragons 21-0. The stadium has also staged women's field hockey matches in which England appeared in their annual match between 1951 and 1969, and then from 1971 to 1991. On the 18th of June 1963, Wembley hosted a heavyweight boxing match between London native boxer Henry Cooper and American rising star Muhammad Ali in front of 35,000 spectators. On the 26th of May 1975, in front of 90,000 people, Evel Knievel crashed while trying to land a jump over 13 single-decker city buses, an accident which resulted in his initial retirement from his daredevil life. The stadium became a music venue in August 1972 with the London Rock and Roll Show, an all-star concert. It later played host to a number of concerts and events, most notably the British leg of Live Aid, which featured such acts as David Bowie, Queen, Paul McCartney, Elton John, The Who, Dire Straits and U2, held at the stadium on the 13th of July 1985. Phil Collins performed at Wembley, then boarded a helicopter to London Heathrow Airport and took a British Airways Concorde to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to perform at the American segment of the Live Aid at JFK Stadium on the same day. Other charity concerts which took place in the stadium were the Human Rights Now concert, the Nelson Mandela 70th birthday tribute concert, Nelson Mandela, an international tribute for Free South Africa concert, the Freddie Mercury tribute concert for AIDS awareness, and the Net Aid charity concert. Acts who also played at Wembley Stadium include David Cassidy had 6 sold-out shows in one weekend in 1973. Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young played the 14th of September 1974. Guests included Joni Mitchell, the band, Jesse Colin Young. Elton John performed 7 times, including 1975, 1984, 1992 with Eric Clapton and 1998 with Billy Joel. He headlined the Summer of '84 concert, part of his European Express tour, along with bands such as Big Country, Nick Kershaw, Kool and the Gang and Wang Chung. The show was recorded for a Showtime concert special. Johnny Cash played in 1979 and recorded for the BBC in 1981 and 1986. The Who played on the 18th of August 1979. The Who and Friends Roar In. This was the band's first major concert after the death of drummer Keith Moon the previous year, following a series of smaller warm-ups. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band played 3 times on the 1984-85 Born in the USA tour, twice in the 1988, once during the Tunnel of Love Express tour, and second time as part of the Human Rights Now. He also performed once in 2016. U2 performed 9 times between 1985 and 1997, including 2 nights on the 4th European leg of their Zooropa tour and the 11th and 12th of August 1993. Wham played their last concert, titled The Final, on the 28th of June 1986. Queen performed 2 nights on the 11th and 12th of July 1986 on the Magic Tour, with the concert on the 12th of July recorded for a live album with edited video released on video as Queen at Wembley, the full version released on DVD as Queen Live at Wembley Stadium. On the 20th of April 1992, the Freddie Mercury tribute concert took place at Wembley, a concert which featured the surviving members of Queen and various guests. Genesis played 4 consecutive sell-out concerts on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th of July 1987 on the Invisible Touch Tour, with a total attendance of nearly 300,000. These were the last 4 shows for the band's major sell-out world tour in the 1986-1987. The concert of the 4th of July 1987 had Princess Diana and Prince Charles in attendance. The shows were filmed for Genesis Live at Wembley Stadium. Madonna had 8 shows on the 18th, 19th and 20th of August 1987, 20th, 21st, 22nd of July 1990, and the 25th and 26th of September 1993. Michael Jackson performed 15 times at this location, the most by any artist in the history of Wembley Stadium, selling over 1.1 million tickets in the process. During the Michael Jackson's Bad World Tour in 1988, he was given a special award by Wembley Stadium officials for breaking a Guinness World Record, with a combined total of 504,000 people attending the 7 sold-out Wembley shows. The concert of the 16th of July 1988 was attended by Princess Diana and Prince Charles, and a DVD of this concert, Michael Jackson, live at Wembley Stadium, July the 16th, 1988, was released in September 2012. Pink Floyd performed 2 shows in August 1988 on the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour. World War II searchlights were used outside the stadium for dramatic effect for approaching fans. INXS had a concert on the 13th of July 1991 that was recorded and released as a VHS DVD with the name Live Baby Live. Bon Jovi played 3 consecutive nights in June 1995, which were filmed for Live from London. They also played on the 19th and 20th of August 2000, and were the last musical act to play at the old Wembley Stadium before it was closed. Tina Turner sold out 4 concerts at Wembley Stadium, 2 in July 1996 and 2 in July 2000. The Eagles did 2 nights in 1996 as part of their Hell Freezes Over tour. Bryan Adams in July 1996, in front of a crowd of over 70,000 people, performed his second sold-out at the UK venue, the first on July the 18th, 1992, and is considered to be one of the most popular concerts. The concert was broadcast on radio stations in 25 countries. From the evening of July the 27th, the 1996 Wembley video was obtained. The Spice Girls had live shows on the 19th and 20th of September 1998 to a crowd of 110,000, one being recorded and released as a DVD. Aerosmith, with the support from Lenny Kravitz, were the guests of the Twin Towers Ball on the 26th of June 1991. Oasis played twice, the 21st and 22nd of July 2000, and recorded their video and album Familiar to Millions at Wembley, and they were the last UK band to headline at the old Wembley. The stadium features in the opening scene of the film The King's Speech in 2010, the 1948 Olympic Marathon, and the 1923 stadium featuring the South Korean war film My Way in 2011, though the marathon is clearly filmed in Riga rather than London. The stadium also features in the 2001 mockumentary film Mike Bassett, England Manager. In the 2018 Queen biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, the stadium was digitally recreated for the Live Aid scene. So, I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of our look at Wembley Stadium. Next week, we'll look at the redevelopment in 2007 and take you forward to the present time. Whatever podcast service you use to listen to this, please do subscribe to get updates on new shows, and also please leave us some feedback. Also, please let me know any places you'd like us to feature in future podcasts, and you can let me know through our website, www.londonvisited.co.uk. You can email me directly on londonvisited@gmail.com, or contact us on Twitter and Instagram @LondonVisited, or on Facebook on @TheLondonVisited. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll see you very soon for part 2. Bye.